These two groups of ants you see here have just entered into war. They use toothpicks as arrows, effervescent tablets to create barriers, throw forks, mobilize aerosol sprays, launch cotton swabs, and even use fire to fend off their opponents, causing total chaos. And they do all this to win some sugar cubes that will feed their respective queens. What's going to happen? The movie starts by showing a couple enjoying a picnic in the middle of a beautiful valley, until suddenly, the woman starts having contractions. They leave the forest, leaving the food on the ground. We then see that the valley is home to all kinds of animals, especially many insects, like two ladybugs waiting for the birth of their little ones. After witnessing this beautiful moment, the parents teach them how to fly, and as they are just learning, the smallest one proves to be quite clumsy, leading a nearby fly to mock him. Later, the whole family strolls through the valley, and the smallest one realizes the fly is following and mocking him. This time, he decides to chase her down to give her a piece of his mind. However, the little fly calls for her family to corner him, and scared, he runs away, unfortunately crashing into a rock and fainting on the ground. When he wakes up, the little bug wants to fly away, but since he hurt a wing, he can't. So he climbs a rock and starts calling out for his family desperately. Not getting any responses, the little guy walks through the rain and shelters under some mushrooms. However, upon seeing the eyes of a bunch of snails, he gets scared and leaves to take refuge in a mysterious can. The next morning, we find out that the metal box belonged to the couple from the beginning. So when the little bug exits the lunchbox, he sees that the place is filled with insects, taking away the food the humans left behind. Undoubtedly, the most skilled at this are the ants, who with their great intelligence detect the sweet treats in the can and transport them straight to their anthill with the ladybug inside. But since the box is too heavy, it falls on the way, scattering the sweets on the ground. The ants notice the presence of the ladybug, and when they approach to sniff her out, she throws herself to the ground and defends herself with a fart. To make matters worse, a dangerous lizard appears to steal the food, causing the ants to panic. Then, we see that the clever ladybug jumps into the can to amplify the sound and starts making noise with her wings, scaring off the reptile. Seeing this, the black ants thank her for saving them, and the little bugs become good friends. Together, they put the sweets back in the box and continue transporting the lunchbox to the anthill. Later, the group encounters fearsome red ants that chase them to steal their food. The protagonists escape down a slope. However, the thieving red bugs jump into a soda can and follow them down the hill. Both sides end up at a river, where the unfortunate red ants crash into the lunchbox of sweets, causing it to fall into the water, hitting Malls. The tiny insect is pursued by a fierce fish, trying to have it for breakfast. As their soda can gets stuck at the bottom of the water, so does the dumb fish. The protagonist's lunchbox also breaks, so the little bugs grab the sweets and carry them away, while the villainous red ants follow their trail, catching up to them on a road crossing through the forest. At that moment, a car passes by and almost crushes the protagonists, who stop just in time. Fortunately, thanks to the noise of the car, the red ants get scared and hesitate to cross the road, allowing their rivals to escape. Thus, after a long journey, the black ants safely reach the anthill with all the sweets in tow. Here, the group leader invites the ladybug to stay with them, and the little insect is amazed to see the great organization among these bugs within the anthill. Each insect brings a treat to the queen for her to taste. Then, when the protagonists let the empress sample the sweets from the lunchbox, her mouth waters with the delicious treat, and she lays thousands of eggs. Meanwhile, the leader of the red ants locates her rival's lair and returns to her anthill, where she prepares a large army to march to war and invade her enemies. On the other hand, the sweet ladybug goes out to gaze at the moon, missing her family so much that she can't help but think of them. For that reason, the tiny insect tries to fly again and notices that her injured wing has healed, making her happy, as tomorrow she will search for her family. However, the next day, the army of red bugs arrives at the anthill, kicking off the epic ant battle. Without wasting time, the red ants surround their rival kingdom and launch various objects from their catapults, piercing the anthill. The unfortunate ones even bring insecticide to poison their opponents. They throw a package of toothpicks that fall like arrows onto the mound of earth. In the midst of such chaos, the black ants defend themselves by throwing effervescent tablets and other objects to try to halt their enemies' advance. At the same time, the queen speaks to her troops to go to the armory for a box of matches and fireworks. Thus, the little bugs head to the storage to find the items and place the rockets on top of the anthill. Afterward, the black ants light a match and set off one of the fireworks. items. They attack, and seeing the firepower of these items, they realize they can win the war. However, unfortunately, the only match they had goes out, preventing them from lighting the rest of the rockets. Knowing this, the red ants increase their assault and use a battering ram to try to enter the anthill. At that moment, the ladybug remembers that there was a pack of matches among the things left by humans, so she crosses the battlefield to fetch the matches, as the only way to win this war is with the rockets. The problem is that upon arriving, she finds the box is too heavy and can't lift it. To make matters worse, a spider appears and takes the matches to her nest, so the little protagonist follows her and discovers that the arachnid lives in a toy house inside the water drain that appeared at the beginning. Despite her fear, the brave ladybug knows she needs the matches to save her friends and enters the tunnel until she reaches the spider's house. But just then, a frog jumps out of the water and catches her with its tongue to return her. Fortunately, the toy house falls on the amphibian and it sinks in the water while the ladybug lies unconscious on the floor. When she regains consciousness, she wakes up in the spider's bed and notices that the kind little creature has been taking care of her while she was out cold. Seeing that she is not a threat, the little bug tells the spider that she needs the matches to save her friends. So the spider helps her empty a bit of the box, and the tiny insect takes the matches back to the anthill. However, along the way, he runs into the same flies from the beginning who are bothering another innocent ladybug. For this reason, our protagonist intervenes to help her and shows off by attracting the flies away from the poor insect. In this way, the disgusting flies start chasing him. However, the clever ladybug dances beautifully and leads them to the road to make them crash against the headlights of a car. After kicking their butts, the ladybug returns for the matchbox and takes them back to the anthill, where she arrives just in time to prevent her friends from being defeated by their rivals. Once they have the matches, the black ants light the fireworks and bombard the red ones. Seeing that everything is in chaos, the red ants decide to retreat, giving victory to the black ants. The bad news is that the flames reach the insecticide, unleashing a fire in the forest. But quickly, a water-dropping airplane arrives to put out the fire, leaving the base of the black ants as if nothing had happened. With their enemies defeated, the black ants begin to rebuild their home, being helped by the heroic ladybug, who stays to live with them without losing hope of one day reuniting with her family.